Good morning, Vinings Lake, and I'm so excited about this morning. This has been on the calendar for a long time, and I'm thrilled about a couple reasons. First, we've been in a series called Evolve, and we're talking about spiritual development. We're talking about spiritual growth, essential messages that you and I never stop growing. And I'm excited as well today because I get to introduce you to just a hero of mine. If you've been around VL any amount of time, you know I have quoted him several times, and so I'm thrilled that you get to meet him today. And so I want to introduce you to my friend Rob Bell. And Rob,
how are you?
Give you a quick intro. Rob has written several books. He started a church years ago called Mars Hill in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then he's written several books, one of which was Love Wins, a very powerful book for me, and then Jesus Wants to Save Christians, Velvet Elvis, another incredible book, Drops Like Stars, phenomenal book. There's several out there that I would encourage you to get. And then he also just released a new one called How to Be Here, and so I'd encourage you to check that one out as well. But I'm so excited to let Rob speak in to us today. And so, Rob, I want to jump into this conversation of spiritual development, and I want to talk a little bit about Acts 10 specifically. So there's like this guy named Peter, and apparently he has this, falls into this trance or whatever, and he sees animals, which is weird. And so if you initially read this, which I want to do, it sounds so bizarre, but there's so much inside of this that I'm like, oh my God, like you have to speak this into our tribe. So here's what I thought. First, before I jump into that story, one quick question about the Bible as a whole, all right? I've heard you say that the Bible is a record of evolving human consciousness. Now, to our people, that may be a really weird phrase. So when you say consciousness, what are we talking about?
There's lots of different ways to talk about it, but in some senses, what is the lens through which you view the world? What is the pair of glasses that you're wearing? Or others would speak of consciousness as like your center of gravity. How do you see things? So one example would simply be, do you see the world exactly like you saw it when you were an 11-year-old? Or when you were a 21-year-old? Or when you were a 31-year-old? And you would say, well, in some ways, but in other ways, if we were to play a recording of your most passionate beliefs about things when you were 12, it probably involved a bicycle, you know what I mean, or a video game. Right. And it's not that you're against that. It's not that you have some sort of, you don't despise your 12-year-old self, but you simply acknowledge that you have grown and you see the world more fully. If you've suffered, then if you've experienced pain, loss, heartache, divorce, a business partner took the money and ran, your kid broke your heart, you have experienced things that have opened you up, that when somebody else speaks of their pain, you know what they're talking about. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have known what they're talking about. And so what happens as you grow, as you move through life, ideally, is that your consciousness expands. So when you have Jesus inviting people not to take up arms and be violent against their enemy, but to love their enemy, that's actually a giant step forward for those people at those time. It's actually still a radical idea in 2016. Yeah. But what you see Jesus doing again and again is he's saying to the man, sell all your possessions and then follow me. And the man can't do it. He's essentially saying, I'm inviting you to live with a lens that is bigger than just you accumulating more wealth and possessions. Can you open yourself up to the idea that maybe you have all these wealth and possessions in order to bless somebody, which would involve an expansion of his consciousness beyond me, to us. So what you see again and again and again throughout the scriptures, throughout human history, in all spiritual growth, is you see people expanding into greater complexity. Sometimes things used to be black and white, but now you can handle some gray in there. Sometimes it's inclusion. There used to be something that you would have pushed away at all costs. And now, in some strange way, that person, that idea, it actually belongs. Sometimes we grow in freedom. We used to be like, oh, I can't do that. And then we realized, oh, wow, we're okay.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so I want to read this.
You're
I
so
want to read
fired up
this.
to get to this story.
I want to read the story because it's just so rich and so good, and there's so much in it. So I'll just read the story, and then we'll just kind of go back through it, if that's cool, and then just kind of fire away at some questions. So, all right, so this is Acts 10. We'll pick up at verse 9. Here's what the scripture says. About noon the following day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat. And while the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance.
Like you do.
Like you do. He saw heaven open and something like a large sheet being let down to earth by its four corners. It contained all kinds of four-footed animals as well as reptiles and birds. And then a voice said to him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "Surely not, Lord," Peter replied. "I have never eaten anything impure or unclean." The voice spoke to him a second time. "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." This happened 3 times, and immediately the sheet was taken back to heaven. While Peter was wondering about the meaning of the vision, the men sent by Cornelius found out where Simon's house was and stopped at the gate. They called out, asking if Simon, who was known as Peter, was staying there. While Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Spirit said to him, "Simon, 3 men are looking for you, so get up and go downstairs. Do not hesitate to go with them, for I have sent them." Peter went down and said to them, "I am the one you're looking for. Why have you come?" The men replied, "I have come from Cornelius the centurion. He is a righteous and God-fearing man who is respected by all the Jewish people. The holy angel told him to ask you to come to his house so that he could hear what you have to say." Then Peter invited the men into the house to be his guest. The next day, Peter started out with them, and some of the believers from Joppa went along. The following day, he arrived in Caesarea. Cornelius was expecting them, and he called together his relatives and close friends. As Peter entered the house, Cornelius met him, fell at his feet in reverence, but Peter made him get up. "Stand up," he said. "I am only a man myself." While talking with him, Peter went inside, found a large gathering of people. He said to them, this is huge, "You are well aware that it is against our law for a Jew to associate with or visit with a Gentile. But God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean." So when he was sent for, he came without raising any objection. "May I ask you why you sent for me?" What a bizarre, crazy story, but it's loaded. So I want to start
to say
at the
something
top.
first.
Yeah.
For everybody who's listening to this, think about the key moments in your life when you saw things in a new way, when you grew. Did it make a whole lot of sense in the moment? Was it all nice and clear? Was there like a direction sheet that somebody laid out on the refrigerator that said, "Today you will lose your job. You will be angry for about 10 seconds, but then you will be calm. You will conduct yourself in a proper manner"? No.
Right.
It was a hell on earth. It was confusing. It was disorienting. It was a car accident, and you're by the side of the road, and there's glass everywhere, and there's blood all over your clothes. Like, when we think about the moments in life, the traumatic moments, the moments that most did something to us. You know what I mean? When we tell about how we've grown into the person that we are, we usually tell stories that were kind of bizarre. And I imagine you have people in your church who would say, "And then this thing happened. I lost my job. She left me. He divorced me. And it was awful. And I lost sleep. And it was disorienting. And yet, in some strange way, it helped me mature. It helped me grow up. It helped me realize how unhealthy some of my relational patterns were." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you read an ancient story and you're like, "Well, this is weird. This is crazy. There's stuff going on. That's nuts." It's kind of how it works.
Right. That's good. That's real.
So let's just start there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so it's let's start so with Peter. He falls into this trance or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I think I've heard you say trance. It's like the word for ecstasy.
Oh, ecstasis. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
I think it's ecstasis, like sort of out of state or out of yourself.
Right.
Where we get ecstasy, where you almost feel like you're leaping outside of yourself. So even the ancient word for trance has this sort of whoa. And obviously you can just say, well, he's hungry. Maybe he's in a trance because maybe it's low blood sugar.
That's amazing.
But now it's really important to note, in first century Jewish culture, they even had a phrase, the meal was so powerful and central to life, the table. There's even a phrase, every table is an altar. Because the table is where you eat, and food comes from the earth. The earth generates food that keeps you alive. So food is one of the most primary ways you receive the gift of life at both a physical level, but you can see how for many, many ancient cultures, this had profound spiritual significance. Whoever the gods and gods were, somebody somewhere provided this. And in Jewish background, there was a specific liturgy and prayer that you would say over the bread and over wine and over food as a way of acknowledging every time I sit down to eat, I pause to savor the gift, to remember that I am the recipient of a gift. It comes from a God who provides for me. And so when it says that Peter was about to eat a meal, we picture like the drive-through, like, oh yeah, no.
Right.
This was another opportunity to remind yourself that you are at the mercy of forces beyond yourself and you have received a good gift. And so then in Jewish culture, you have very specific rules at that time about eating, because eating was one of the ways that you practiced and you reminded yourself that all human action is holy and sacred. Everything matters. And so central to Jewish consciousness was this awareness that all of your actions matter. Yeah. You are helping create the world. The world is unfinished. God is looking for partners. And everything you do is helping create some kind of world. A world of destruction and toxicity, or a world of joy and creativity and beauty. So it's important to just remember that when he has a trance involving a meal, there's a significant spiritual moment of enlightenment he's going to have surrounding a meal. I assume the first readers of this story, or the people who first heard the story, would not have been like, no way. They would have been like, oh yeah, it kind of makes sense. Yeah.
So
we can go all day on this.
So you can tell, yes. He stays fired up. All right, so which we love at Bindings Lake. All right, so question about the mystery behind all this. Okay, so here's my thought. Why Peter? Like, I ask myself, when you talk about growth, it's like sometimes you see some people are teachable and they're like in it and they get it, and then some people it seems like they haven't grown in like 10, 20 years, and I feel like there's some sense of mystery behind that. I don't know. Maybe you can speak into that of why some and not others.
Consciousness, and Jesus actually talked about this a lot. He talked about it almost as much as anything he talked about. There is a great mystery to consciousness. So think about an alcoholic. And the people who love this alcoholic the most arrange an intervention. And they all gather in his living room. And they sit down with him and they say, we love you so much. Alcohol is ruining your life. What can we do to help? Think of a second alcoholic and a second intervention, and those loved ones sit the alcoholic down and say, we love you so much. Alcohol is ruining your life. How can we help? And the one alcoholic says, F you, get out of my living room. What are you doing telling me how to live my life? I'll do exactly what I want. And the other one says, I'm so moved that you would speak the truth to me like this. Can I go get help right now? Will someone take me to a meeting? I'll do anything to be free from this. Yeah. Why? I mean, we all know people who, why do they keep making that unbelievably destructive choice? And then you see other people, sometimes who come from unbelievably rough circumstances. They've been kicked around endlessly, and yet they're like, I am going to become a certain kind of person. And they fill every room they walk in with hope and love and life. And why sometimes within families, why does the one kid seem like so hard? You know, just like a rock for a heart. And the other kid who grew up in the other bunk bed is like this just living embodiment of compassion. Like, why? I think it's when Jesus says, it's almost like a couple times he says to his disciples, let the ones who have ears hear. And sometimes he even say, they're like, why do you speak in parables? I think the disciples are like, why do you talk like this? And sometimes he just simply seems to be saying, well, it's like there's this field and the planter's planting seeds, and some of the seed it catches and it grows and some of it doesn't. He's talking about consciousness. Here's the thing. I'm going to talk to however many people are here, I'm going to talk to them. Some of them are going to go, oh, that's good. Can I learn more? Could I grow in compassion? What does it mean to love my enemy? You're telling me I could forgive somebody who's wronged me? Tell me more. And other people will be like, what's for lunch? It's like one of the great mysteries. And the problem in the modern era is it was like, go out, share Jesus, get people saved, then they'll go out, share Jesus, and get people saved. And if they're not listening, well, they have hard hearts, to hell with them. You know, it was this very sort of mechanistic, it's interesting, we started talking that way about salvation about the time we invented machines, which have pushes and levers. Here's how it works. Put the stuff in, turn the crank, here's how it works. As opposed to an organic process in which things get planted, seeds get planted, sometimes it catches root, sometimes it doesn't. But it's one of the great mysteries at the heart of the human story. And every parent knows this. How come my kid responds sometimes and not others, or this kid versus it's a great mystery. It's a great mystery at the heart of the human experience. And no science, no research can solve it. And so why does Peter have this trance vision? And why does he respond? And why do the lights come on? And why does he grow and mature? And somebody else, perhaps that's why perhaps that's why in the scriptures you have so many stories of people having these sort of strange, almost out-of-body experiences. It's because it's how it works. And sometimes perhaps we have bizarre experiences. How many people do you know, really logical, really educated, really rational people who are like, I don't buy that stuff. I need facts. I need evidence.
Right.
And then they'll say to you, they'll like confide in you, I had this experience recently. It was so weird.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was being protected and cared for. So it's like you know what I mean? But I don't really have any categories for it. They didn't teach me this in school. My friends at my business would laugh at me if I told this story, but it was real. I became aware of a love, a presence, something guiding me, but I don't have any rational way of measuring it or proving it. I just know something happened. Yeah, it's the great mystery of how we grow.
So good. So you want to speak into this? Okay, so this sheet, apparently this sheet comes down, and there's these animals on it. So there's got to be something around the Jewish world with that, right?
Yeah.
So
well,
is there some context there that we're missing?
Yeah. So early in Peter's tribe's history, they had been brought out of slavery. And the story of the Exodus, and then you have Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, is how do you make a new kind of people?
Yeah.
And how does a new kind of people develop the ability to discern? This is good, this is not so good. This is beneficial, this is destructive. And so there were very strict dietary laws that had emerged. These foods are clean, these foods are unclean. And so early in his tribe's history, they had developed these very stringent rules called holiness codes, about clean and unclean, which was an emerging awareness that we have a calling in the world. We are set apart. And so everything about how we live, right down to the importance of the table, needs to reflect this awareness that all actions matter, and we have this calling to be a light to the world. And part of it were some foods were considered clean, some foods were unclean. Now, some people believe it was very practical. They're wandering in the wilderness, and certain foods carry more parasites than other foods. So some people believe that the dietary restrictions were simply very good ancient Near East wisdom about don't eat that because it's wiggling on your plate. Do you know what I mean? So some of it was just how do you stay when you're camping in the wilderness, how do you stay alive? Don't eat those foods. But like things do, began to gather spiritual significance. We eat these, but not these, because we distinguish. By the way, there's one rabbinic tradition that the Bible begins with this poem in which the divine separates light from dark. And so the rabbis say the rest of the scriptures is the divine teaching people how to distinguish light from dark. Nice. It's called discernment. This is obviously why fundamentalism can be so toxic, is the leader says, I'll do the discerning. I'll do the separating. Just trust me.
Come on now.
I told you how it's done. I'll tell you how it's done. Watch this. Don't read this. Go here. You can't go there. I'll take care of it. But real spiritual maturity is when you own and you decide, I'm going to grow and build the muscles to distinguish light from dark. So,
told you.
This story then has at its core, Peter deep in his bones has been this tradition. He has a tribe, and that tribe has a sacred text. Sound familiar? And it has been interpreted a particular way. And along the way, his tribe began to see people in the same way they saw food, as you can associate with these people, but you can't associate with these people. If you associate with these people, they're going to make you unclean. So this is the dominant thing in the Gospels Jesus keeps bumping up against, is these holiness codes. You can't have dinner with them. That would make you unclean. Jesus, of course, anytime there's like, well, they're clean and they're unclean, you notice he always goes to the unclean. He's like, I'm going to blow your holiness codes to pieces, because love doesn't have a holiness code.
Right.
All is clean in the eyes of love.
Yeah.
But what you have with Peter is his tribe has so deeply interpreted this a particular way. They have added interpretations to these scriptures. And so he comes from a deep, deep tradition from birth that would have taught him, you are a Jew and you are clean, and you do not go in the house of a Gentile because they are unclean. And what they did is the tradition said, this is God's law. But it was the tradition's interpretations of the text.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, I mean, I know nobody in the modern world has any experience with this, where there are all sorts of traditions that have no grounding in anything helpful. But it's important to remember that Peter from birth has been taught, whatever you do, do not go in the home of a Gentile, because now you will lose God's favor. You will be unclean. You are in deep, deep trouble. And he has this vision in which these animals, and the key behind the sheet is if animals are in a sheet, there are clean and unclean animals in the sheet. And the idea behind the picture is the clean animals would have bumped up against the unclean animals, and that would have made them unclean. So the idea behind the visual there is the sheet is lower down, and because of the way a sheet would hold animals, they would all be jostling up against each other. The clean ones would have become unclean by association. So that's sort of the key sort of insight of the graphic.
Okay. And it says then a voice told him, get up, kill it, and eat. And here's what's weird. He resists.
Yes,
which makes sense because of what you just said.
Right.
So he resists. Right. So he's here's my question. What is the basis of his resistance?
Oh, it's so fantastic, because the divine voice says, do this. And his protest is, oh, no way. God doesn't want me doing that. It's almost like God says, cross the street. And you're like, God says, Cody, cross the street. And you're like, oh no, God doesn't want me crossing the street. His tradition and his allegiance to his tradition's codes and laws actually have him resisting the movement of spirit in the world.
Hold on. So I need you to hear this. All right, this is like when I first heard this, I was like, oh. All right, so let me get this right. He is resisting like the voice of God, almost in the name of God.
Absolutely. Yes. And this happens all the time. Actually, there's a technical term for it, static appropriation. When you're actually quoting a Bible verse to defend an action that is actually against the beautiful, true, good, next right thing. So there's even like a whole technical world of scholarship about this, right? But how a tradition can actually end up at odds with itself. You have people going, well, we can't do that. And you're like, yeah, actually you can. Mm-hmm. Actually, you're using the tradition to defend a deeply destructive thing.
Right.
But so it's just really, I mean, the writer, these biblical writers were very, very funny. You know that the humor here is of this guy going, surely not. I would never do such a thing.
Right.
He's literally, the divine voice is like, okay, it's time to eat. And all of these animals are now fair game. Or you can eat the clean ones, and some interpretations would simply say, get up and eat means you can eat the clean ones. I know you've seen them jostled up against the unclean ones, and I know your tradition tells you now they're unclean, they're not. You got to move on. You got to move past those laws. That's a new day. It's a new day. Get up and eat. You got to think about it differently.
So what do you?
He resists.
So what do you do? Okay, so I'm gonna give an example. So what if you have someone who's like, okay, so what if I sense God's leading me to new territory or an expansive view, or I feel like, but I don't know it's God, and He's pulling me somewhere that it's unfamiliar territory for me.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things that come with that. But then what do you do with the person who says, well, God would never tell you to do something that He has not already confirmed in His Bible? You ever heard something like that? Like God doesn't do anything outside of what can be confirmed in Scripture. But obviously in this case, that's not true.
You would only say that if you haven't read the Bible. Because if you've read the Bible,
right,
what you have again and again is people going, there really is no precedent for this.
Yeah.
But it's where Spirit's taking us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the Scriptures, the next chapter hasn't been written. It's an unfolding narrative. So I know this is where we've been. Where are we going? I guess we're making up where we go next. Like the next chapter hasn't been. We're writing the next chapter. So where does it go next? Does this make the world a place of greater peace? Does this lessen bitterness and increase love? Does this create greater dignity and respect for those who aren't like us? I mean, there are basic questions you can ask about whatever the thing is that you're realizing.
Yeah.
Does this fill me with more and more the kind of abundant life that Jesus keeps insisting is possible?
Yes.
Do I wake up in the morning with a greater sense of gratitude, wonder, and awe that I'm here and I get to live this day?
So almost as if you were, because I guess we'll talk about this. So like Peter in this moment, there had to be some sense of fear.
Terrifying.
There had to be some sense of, do I know this is God?
Because a tradition plants itself on your shoulder and creates a running commentary. This is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad.
Yeah.
And it can be very confusing because, think about the addict who stumbled into a church and got clean and sober and got help and found some healing. And then later, they keep growing. And that voice on their shoulder is like, whoa, this is dangerous. Well, the same voice that got them out of the gutter also told them some other things that they are now moving beyond. And did everything they tell me, was everything they told me wrong? So it's really important when you think about growth. Categories of right and wrong can actually hold you up. Because if you're like, well, was that wrong? Was that right? That person came, they gave you this beautiful gift. For a season, it helped move you from where you were to the next place. And now you're here. And now the journey is taking you to the next place.
Yeah.
And Spirit has been with you the whole way, guiding you. You fell down on your face, you got back up, dusted yourself off, took a few more steps. So that's why you have to have a deep sense of grace about the whole thing. Everybody is figuring it out. This is a story about a man figuring it out because he has a long tradition that tells him, whatever you do, don't eat that.
Yeah.
And then there's this voice, it's like, it's a new thing happening, Peter.
Yeah.
You can eat.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I would never do that. And it's like, no, seriously. So good. It's such a good story. Okay,
so
keep going.
I heard you say this, and I think this is worth saying. Peter's religion gets in the way of the new thing God is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
I mean, well, think about the civil rights movement in the 60s. How many churches, a friend of mine, African-American preacher, was a part of a church that was like, we would never speak up for equality. No way, we preach the gospel.
Oh.
We preach the gospel. Why would we get involved in racial equality? And my friend was like, because the gospel is about the reconciliation of all things, and that includes brothers and sisters.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
I know
yeah,
what
you
you
have.
mean.
So this is not this is an idea that we have seen throughout history again and again and again. When in the name of religion, people are in the way.
Yeah.
Or right now, we are doing horrible things to our environment, and you have loud religious voices that are like, "Well, it's all going to burn," which is a total mistranslation of one passage in the New Testament. Nevertheless, you have people who are like, what does caring for the earth have to do with anything important? Well, other than if there isn't an earth,
right.
we're sort of this is a sanctity of life issue.
Yeah.
This is about food, farming, future generations. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is about everything. And the scriptures is about the reconciliation. The cross is about the reconciliation of all things. That's us to each other. That's us to our Maker. That's us to ourselves. That's us making peace with the earth, caring for it. Like, what's the second command in the Bible? Care for the earth well. So you have religious traditions that sometimes can get in the way of the new thing that is happening in the world.
That's a good word. Good word. Basically, he has this vision, and then he resists, and then we'll pick up, this is verse 17. While Peter was wondering about the meaning of the vision, which I guess is what you do when you have a vision.
Well, it's interesting also wondering, and I bet a lot of people in your church, you had an experience, and you can't quite make sense of it, and so you're just carrying it around. I mean, maybe you were taught that all Muslims are going to hell. That a Muslim moves in next door and you're like, that Muslim is the best neighbor ever. They are a fantastic human being. They're more Jesus-y than some people I know who call themselves Christians. And you find yourself like, this person has become this beautiful question mark in my life. Because I was taught a bunch of things that aren't true. So I love, it's the little lines to me in the scriptures that have such power to them. You can find Peter going, what was that? There's like the what was that factor.
Right.
And my experience has been oftentimes we grow because we're moving a half step slower in those moments. And we had some experience that disrupted us. It threw us a new set of terms and conditions, and it asked some questions we hadn't had to deal with before. And everything doesn't suddenly make its nice black and white sense like it used to.
Yes.
And so you're just in this space, and we'll say things like, I feel like a bunch of things are up in the air, or I'm challenging some of the things I was growing up with or whatever. That's a beautiful, sweet space.
Yes.
And that tension of, man, some solid ground I used to stand on isn't so solid anymore. It's okay. And as you have Peter going, well, what just happened? And he's sort of, there's this great line, Mary pondered these things in her heart. And oftentimes we don't like tension as good Americans. Tension exists to be solved. You know what I mean? But tension, it's also called liminal space, when you're in between, is often where the most beautiful things get planted. So when you find yourself thinking, man, I don't know what I believe about anything anymore, pause, enjoy it, ponder it, reflect on it, and a bunch of stuff got thrown up in the air. It'll start to settle down at some point. It may settle down very different than it was before. It's okay. It's okay. Just... if you take seriously the presence of spirit, then where can I go from your spirit? The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Whatever I'm in, whatever this thing is, spirit is with me, guiding me, healing, taking care of me. We'll figure it out at some point. Maybe we won't. It's okay.
So disruption is how you grow.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of churches become belief affirmation systems, where they tell you the same thing you've heard every Sunday.
Yep.
Just keep repeating the same stuff and then saying, hey, we're preaching the word. But what we're doing is just repeating the same things every time. And so the church becomes like inoculated against the disruption, because how you grow is disruptions. You hear something you haven't heard before.
Yes.
You meet somebody you haven't interacted with before.
Yeah.
You have an experience that you haven't had before, and what do I make of this?
Yes.
It's scary. And it can be lonely and disorienting, and frightening and terrifying and vertigo, and you feel like you're betraying your tradition because you're entertaining thoughts that if you were to say them out loud, people would be like, what happened? Did you slippery slope? All this sort of cliches.
Yes.
But disruptions are how you grow. And the Bible is a story of disruption after disruption after
good.
disruption after disruption. That's so how it works. He's killed, by the way, on a cross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a disruption.
Yeah.
What happened to our dude? He's going to save, this isn't saving the world. This is dying on a cross. This is the opposite of saving the world. Disruptions are how we grow. We grow lots of ways, but disruptions are generally how it happens.
So he wakes up from this dream. He ponders this trance. He ponders what happens. And then these men show up at the door.
Right.
So it's almost like...
Convenient.
Yes. So it's almost like moving from this trance to something literal is taking place at this point.
It's always how it works. How it works is you're seeing things in a new way. It's not working like it used to. Mm-hmm. And then there will be some very real life situation where you will realize, I would have gone left in the past, and now I'm going to turn right.
Oh, yeah.
I would have had some word of judgment about that person and how lost they are. But instead, I'm leaning in, and I'm moving closer, and I'm listening because I realize they might have something to teach me.
Yeah.
There will be some situation in which you'll realize, oh, I always would have done X.
Yes.
But now, to be true to what I now know and who I am and how I've grown and learned, I'm actually going to go Y. And let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And the people around you may not even know anything's happening, but for you, this is big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's this terrifying moment of this trance that he's in, and he sees these things, and he begins to sense, what is all of this about? This guy shows up at his door, and then immediately he's hit with the very issue of which he has this trance.
And there's a Roman, there's a Gentile, there's a non-Jew, there's the epitome of unclean. I want you to come over to his house.
Oh, yeah. Now it's starting to make sense. The trance is making sense.
Well, wait, I can't go to it. Oh. Eat. Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa. And so he goes.
Yes.
And there's this moment.
It's a
he
beautiful
arrives
moment.
at the house.
Yeah. And here's what the scripture says. I love this. Peter entered the house.
And for Peter, going into the home of a Gentile, a non-Jew, this isn't just, I'm breaking the country club rules. Mm-hmm. This isn't just, my parents told me I shouldn't do this.
Oh, yeah, much
This
deeper.
has divine weight attached to it. Mm-hmm. You do that, and I don't know where you stand with God. Mm. You do that, and I have questions about your soul. Mm-hmm. You do that, and you are putting your eternal destiny at stake. I mean, that is sort of in the language of the day. Man, you go into a Gentile's home, I don't know. I mean, is the divine even going to protect you anymore? You are, and so you know that he has this moment. Because he says it when he was saying, it's not what we normally do. That's just him, that's the voice in his head going, what the man, oh man. And yet he does it. And he's fine. And he realizes, it's a new day.
Yeah.
It's a new day.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was always taught was unclean, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. It's clean.
So he says this towards the end. So he crosses the threshold, and then he said to them, "You are well aware that it is against our law for a Jew to associate with or visit with a Gentile. But," huge conjunction there, "God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean." So I just need to say this. It's like I had this dualistic vision for years. It's right or wrong. It's left or right. It's Republican or Democrat. It's this or that. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, when I cross the threshold, I begin to realize, no, it's so much bigger and larger, and it's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, the ego loves binaries. The ego loves labels and categories. Because the ego can say, I'm this, but I'm not, which means I'm not that. And this is better than that, therefore I'm better. I'm part of this tribe, not that tribe. Oh my word, why would I be a part of that tribe? I'm part of this tribe.
Yeah.
The ego loves the binary because it can put itself on the good side. And it feels so good. Self-righteousness at the expense of others.
Yes.
And growth is always about the ego dying so that you can really live.
Yeah.
So you're no longer needing to create this us and them, which then makes us feel really good because we're us, not them. And so sometimes what happens with growth is you actually meet them and realize them have some good points, and they're human beings with kids and dreams and goals just like you, and parents and stories and histories, and all of a sudden the us and them isn't as clear as it used to be. And the ego's like holds on because it doesn't like this sort of, I'm losing one of the things that I used to bolster myself up with. But if you can die to that, wow, now you're really free. And there's this great, to me, the best, like this is comedy, Peter. So, God has shown me.
I've never thought about it like that.
Oh, totally.
That's
you understand. God has shown me that we can all be together as one big tribe. It's like, no, dude. A couple verses later, you were like, no, surely not.
Yes.
You were arguing with God about this earlier in the chapter. You know what I mean? And now, like a day later, you're like, for those of us who have sort of been around a while and have sort of a wise, more enlightened view of things, it's like, no way, dude, this is bad.
He just owns it as if it's
that's actually one of the things about growth. Is you know that you are moving to interesting places when you can't remember that you used to see it some other way. When you remember when I guess I used to think that. Remember when we used to talk about that? Remember we used to think that was the question?
Yes.
My goodness.
Well, I want to close with this. Rob. So good. Oh my God, it's so good. It says this, by the way, the last line. So when I was sent for, I came without raising any objection. It's almost like you want to add this time,
Right.
But I do want you to speak into just a minute of how to, like remaining teachable. Because it's so easy to resist when it's unknown. To have I want our people to have a heart that even at 60, 70, where we're like, hey, I'm still teachable. I still think in Isaiah, God's doing a new thing. And I want to know what that is. And I want to be aware of that. And so I want my heart to be open to that.
Some of the youngest people I know are the oldest people I know. And some of the oldest people I know are the youngest people I know. 25-year-olds who are white-knuckling things, so rigid and tense and then 80-year-olds. I did a funeral for my wife's grandmother. I'm getting ready to do the burial part. And a woman sits down next to me and she says, Rob, I'm 92. My name is Mary, and I'm just getting started.
Nice.
Actually, to me, what's really, really helpful is that Jesus called disciples students.
Yes.
Students. So we're students. We're learning the art of living. And we're students.
That's good.
So stop beating yourself up. A student never expects to figure it all out on the first try. You're learning. You're learning from the master. You'll have a lifetime of learning, and then you'll just keep learning after that. So relax.
Yeah.
Stop beating yourself up. You'll try some things. You'll make stupid decisions involving money. You'll trust people you shouldn't have trusted. You'll open your mouth at a party, and later on the drive home, you'll be like, why did I say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Relax. You're a student.
Yeah.
You're learning.
Yeah.
You're learning. You'll fall flat on your face. You get back up. You ask yourself, what'd I learn?
Yeah.
And then you keep going.
At some point, it's obviously this isn't in the text. This is just a truth that just happens with growth, is that oftentimes growth, it cost Peter something.
Always.
It cost. And my thought process is the moment he crosses his threshold and this goes down, sounds great in the moment and he owns it, but he also eventually goes back home. Yeah. And people are like, you did what?
Yeah.
And they're shaming.
This is why in history the enlightened ones are generally shot, shunned, or limping. Think about people who saw something before the dominant tribe around them saw it. There's an ache because once you taste, you can't untaste. Once you see, you can't unsee. And Jesus was killed by his tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a story. Read the Gospels and just ask, how many times is Jesus talking about the division within his tribe because of what he's doing? His family comes to him because they think he's nuts. His disciples are like, John 6, we're out of here.
Yep.
And he says, the ones who are still there, are you following me? It is not a story about everybody going, this is fantastic. It's people going, this is hard. This is hard to hear.
Yes.
There's always a cost. And in America right now, you have lots of people who were raised with a particular vision or view of the Jesus story that has some serious toxic, destructive elements to it. And they're waking up and going,
yeah,
that wasn't what Jesus had in mind.
Yes.
And their parents don't understand, and some friends and churches are like, we don't read those books here. And that's what's happening right now. And it's the really odd paradox is that you're more alive than ever. You're actually owning it for the first time. You're actually seeing, you're no longer just spouting the cliches or repeating the Bible verses. You're actually having real experiences of growth, and you're moving forward, and it's this good thing that's causing all this tension and division.
Yeah.
And that's the strange irony of spiritual growth, is if you're actually spiritually growing, you may be at odds with your spiritual community that you come out of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that is just one of the great, odd mysteries of the whole thing is, wait, you would think that my tribe would be like, awesome, you're seeing things. No, because it's a threat, because a tribe always has a dominant center of consciousness. There's a party line, there's a group think, there's a way we see things. And when you see something beyond that, and you can't unsee, and you begin to step into your true self on your path, you may find yourself at odds. So whenever you can find a community of like-minded brothers and sisters who are on the same path,
Yes.
it's just the most unbelievable thing
And
ever.
I, honest to God, think that's Vinings Lake.
That's fantastic.
I do.
What
and
a
here's
gift.
and here's the thing.
What a gift.
You
Keep going.
So you guys have met him. My hope is one day that we can get him where he can meet you guys. But until then, I just want to say to you publicly, Rob, I am who I am. I am who I am in large part because of you. And I just want you to know that. And
That
I know
means the
you may
world.
hear it a little bit, but I'll tell you this. I'm so grateful for your investment in me.
Thank you.
And Katie as well. And we're just so thankful for the books you write, the 2 days you give, and just investing in pastors who are, we're working it, we're figuring it out, we're walking through it, but it makes
So good.
sense. And I'll just tell you, we're more loving today than we were 20 years ago. And I just credit a lot of that to you and your work. So I'm so grateful.
Awesome.
So there you have it, Vinings. That's Rob Bell. And I'm so thrilled that he could speak into us. So my hope and prayer for you is that you cross the threshold. You cross the threshold. And we keep crossing thresholds. And we keep growing. And we keep moving forward because we're all becoming more loving, more patient, more kind people. That's what it means to follow Jesus. So thrilled for you. God bless you guys. Love you. And Rob, thanks again.
My pleasure.
Awesome.